ID Buzz in the bunch. I understand there's a story behind that. Did you drive it from New Jersey?
I did.
You did drive it here from New Jersey. Because why would they sell hippie vans in Washington State in the first batch?
They took a deposit from me in August and said it would be here in April. But they took a deposit from a friend in August and said this would be here in November and it's not here yet. Now they're saying it's due end of this week. They said you send two days. I said, well, let's say end of the month. They told us end of the week, but end of the month probably makes more sense. We'll see. Meanwhile, I try.
So you might just get a second one and flip it?
Yes.
Oh, very diabolical.
Well, when I put the deposit on this one model up, with the captain's chairs and the sunroof and stuff I really want. But meanwhile, I thought, and who knows if the other one is actually coming.
Cheers for you. Actually coming. Amazing. Okay. And we had a brand new GM unibody pick 'em up truck. Hello. What'd you get? What's that El Camino thing that you've got parked upstairs?
El Camino, it's a JMC Sierra EV.
But there's Sierras with engines out there and they don't look anything like it.
I know, that's what it's undercover.
It's completely different platform than the CNC Sierra EV.
That's right.
Okay. Any surprises, quirks, or features you'd like to tell us about?
No, it's 470 miles of distance.
470 miles. Not even my bladder's that big.
Of a 205 kilowatt battery.
You realize that's twice the size of the Bluebird school bus battery?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's carrying up to 10,000 pounds.
10,000 pounds towing or
Well,
payload?
towing that is.
Okay.
Well, 0-60 in 4.5.
4.5 seconds. We're talking about the pickup truck, right?
That's the truck.
Okay.
Off of a 9,000 pound weight of the truck.
Is that full or empty?
That's empty.
Oh, what about when fully charged?
I don't know.
9,000 pound vehicle, my God. Any other new vehicles over the break?
Yeah, the mid-gate.
Yeah. Mid-gate, yes. He already gave one demonstration of how easy it is to fold down the seats, but not the gate. You just wait. After the meeting, you might get folded. All right.
Jay, can I ask?
Please.
My middle name is Sparky. What's the truck? What's the like the weight difference between like a Cybertruck and the kilowatt hours?
It's whatever Cybertruck, I don't know.
Ryan.
There's 123 kilowatt hours, roughly the same as the Lightning. Weight is 6,600 or 6,800 with dual electricity.
So was that double the kilowatt hours?
The weight is actually 8,800 pounds.
But the kilowatt hours is actually double.
Kilowatt hours is 205 kilowatts.
205. Okay. That's more.
It is more.
We're into super truck territory here. It's getting amazing. Had any crazy adventures or towing yet?
Yeah.
Not yet. All right. Well, speaking of crazy adventures in towing, I delivered an EV to a first-time owner over Christmas. I towed the Kia Soul to Durango, Colorado, behind the family van, which crossed 290,000 miles during the trip. Big break. My sister, who we dubbed the Princess of Patagonia, first reaction to a Kia Soul in Colorado was like, it's very urban looking. But now she's fallen in love and named it Poppy, and all my friends recognize me around town. It's so cool. So that is done happily. Any other Christmas presents? Well, Dana Wheelock, who comes by, maybe twice a year if we're lucky, got bored of his previous neighborhood electric vehicle projects, resurrecting a Bombardier NEV and putting Dodge neon headlamps on it and making it super streamlined. And has now acquired a couple of DeLoreans.
Well, so the Bombardier, which was a great project, is sitting idle. The controller smoke. I'm done with that one. If somebody wants a starter EV, it's licensed, titled, all of that. Last year's project was a little K truck. I put a Nissan Leaf drivetrain, and it's almost scary to drive. And I just came across some poor soul that checked out on us that had a couple of DeLoreans in the barn, and one of them is going to get a Tesla drive. And like you said, I show up here to kind of tap some of the resources, and it's going to get a Tesla drive in the rear, and it's sitting on the rack ready to go. So the other DeLorean, if you guys wanted one that just runs on gas, probably be for sale. I had to buy two to get one.
Had to buy two to get one. That's called a 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah, that's not quite how they priced it. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Is DMC Company of Texas still a thing? They put out
Oh.
lots and lots of press releases.
And they have lots of parts because this thing's 44 years old, and just lots of all the little ancillary things kind of need a little help. So
No.
this is the only car I've ever owned that I take my anti-inflammatories before I work on it. Because you get kind of twisted up inside. It's not made for, it's made in Ireland by leprechauns.
Well, congratulations. That's
Thanks.
very exciting. Any other new vehicles for the good of the order before we get waterborne? We have with us none other than the brother of our illustrious town crier, Kevin Bowes, who is senior engineer with Zen Boats. And we got to hear about where the name came from.
It's
amongst
the last
other things.
name of our owner, the founder. His name is Pierre Zinn.
It's not Zinfandel.
No, it's Zinn.
Well, are we queued up on the machine?
No,
You need to log into your PowerPoint.
Okay.
and I'm gonna need an available port for this, for the flash drive.
Okay, I'll do that quickly. Password on the SIVA laptop is very difficult to guess.
1, 2, 3. Oh, EV.
Your voice sounds like Kevin's.
DNA will do that. Huh? DNA will do that. Anyway, here's my. I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but Zen Boats was founded in 2017. Yep. And they introduced their first boat in 2019. We're very pleased to have with us today Ross Carmichael, who is the Vice President of Engineering, and Stephen Bowes, who is the Senior Engineer. And if the name sounds familiar, it's because I'm very proud to call him my brother. Mr. Bowes, the floor is yours. And they make boats in Seattle.
Oh, we're working on it, yeah, we're working on it.
Coming right up.
Coming up, huge presentation. Spent minutes on this, so.
And after Zen Boats, we've got Chris Johnson of SAE Intro Electric Car Book fame, and an update from Grace on the progress or lack thereof on the Clean Car Choices Coalition, and start thinking that beautiful trophy sitting behind Kevin is, of course, the Super Electric Vehicle Advocate of the Year. Grace Reamer has returned it to the fold after her year of fame. And we need nominations because we traditionally award this at our annual business meeting 1 month from tonight. 1 month from tonight. We'll also bring the election. Who read the SEBA list in the past 24 hours? All right. Well, as it served to remind you, this marks 6 years with me allegedly being in charge, which would make me still a wet behind the ears senator or a very successful congressman. But I would be very willing to hand over the reins to someone who is interested in taking the club in a new direction with some new energy.
Which one?
I'm being asked to toe the company line more often as Tacoma Power backs away from EVs and any public charging infrastructure or anything that is hard to do.
That's what I use.
So, I'm muzzled, man. Believe it or not. So, that you notice we have no regular attendees here from City Light that aren't retirees, or from Puget Sound Energy or SnowCon. It's tough on the inside. Is them ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready to go.
All right, please take the floor.
Yeah, so I'll just, a little quick intro. I've been, with, my history is with Bayliner, my professional, I should say, with Bayliner over 3 decades with them. Of course, U.S. Marines / Brunswick. And then aerospace, worked with Stoddard up in Arlington. Partnered through Stoddard with Eviation, which was the world's first commercial electric aircraft. We did parts with them that I was involved with. That was a very exciting project with lots of learning curve. I don't know if any of you read the articles on that, but it's still live and going up in Arlington. Anyway, I'm going to start this presentation with a short video. That is what we're talking about mostly, but this is our first, it's a custom craft. It's a one-off yacht tender, and this is just what we've been working on to bring this technology to market. It's only about 4 minutes. Like no one else is crazy to be out there on that cold day. So there's another video which I did not bring, but it just shows this boat in the first sea trials of running the joystick steering, which it's twin outdrives and combined with no, but it's yeah, you can do all the steering if you want to just with the joystick, and it's really nice for like if you're docking, it'll go sideways. It's really incredible. This is the list of articles that we've been in, which I can also send out, but I highly recommend if you're like more interested in kind of the journey and the philosophy and the, you know, what got us to where we are is there's lots of articles have been written recently, and there's a full list of where they
I have my element on a PC. Going back to the
slash.
We just put one in this big picture.
You just want
no,
the,
we want
Alt
to
tab.
to the
Really wanna-
flash drive and get the other one.
yeah, you want to close this.
No, Alt tab. Alt tab.
Come, Ryan.
Alt tab. We're that, that'll work. And we're done. Almost there. There it is.
There we go. It's that one. Yep.
It's going backwards, 89 to 87.
Perfect. So just a quick disclaimer on this is some of the information is outdated. I did not have time to go in and change it. There's lots going on. We've been spending the majority of our time really getting that 11 meter out and completed, and then our 7 meter. So that's what Russ and I have been spending all of our time on. But I did ask the team to put this together for me so I could show something. But it was the first to market in its class of a full electric boat, as was already mentioned back in 2019. Great launch success in the Miami Boat Show, which we're going back to next month with our other boat. And you know, COVID bit us in the ass, but we're back after that downturn. The awards, there's a list of them, and I hate to point you back to the articles that they've written about it, but it does a much better job describing all the accolades and what we've been doing. But I would like to add that we did get a Small Business of the Year last year award, which we're super proud of, because we just haven't been around that long. It was quite the honor for us to receive that. This was the 11 meter, still is the 11 meter, but just in our partners that we work with, some of the articles that have been in there, this is for the hydrogen boat. So it's not a secret anymore that Bill Gates started that project. He was all about really proving a concept more than he was building a boat. And so just we're proud to be part of a lot of the world's first, including the hydrogen super yacht and this fully electric tender. And just part of the safety part, so you have no fumes, no gas fumes. The battery itself, I wish I had slides of that, but it's encapsulated in this this protective cells within the hull. And it's not only the battery itself technology, they're Zero-Tech batteries, so they're self-extinguishing, each cell within the battery is surrounded by its own membrane, and they're water cooled, so everything is just designed to like put out any issues with the individual cell level. If there was a runaway with it, like I said, it's fully encapsulated with fireproof material. It's sealed. It's I forget the temperature it goes up to, but the fire, the temperature is fully contained. This exact system was actually sent out in the space station, so it's a proven technology. We're the first ever to have certification for it to be in a boat. We're the only company in the world that has a certification for it to live inside of a yacht, where they'll insure it and approve it to be used. So it's safe. It's not gonna, it's not gonna burn the yacht down. Anyway, we're very proud of that achievement. And the platform approach, just basic, lessons learned from our Bayliner days, is have a base platform that you can expand on, reutilize parts, pieces, same hull, different decks, type thing. You have a proven renting system, you want to leverage that as best you can. And these, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Seed Keepers, but it's a stabilization feature. It's like a giant gyroscope, and there's supposed to be a little bit further in the boat, but they do a wonderful job of making it just super stable and not, your possible uneasy feeling. But some of the types of designs are coming up, but we're just leveraging, the automotive platform theory. There's 10 platforms, that carry 200 plus models. So we're trying to work under that. And just some of the numbers on the growth with the market and investment in EV. Enormous amount of monies. We've actually had invested, we've been turning away investors. People want in, so we still have lots of excitement, lots of local families involved, and just worldwide, the investment on the first category, it's the first, it's the first one. So a lot of financial support for what we're doing, and just a lot of interest in the coming up of what's going to be new for the boating industry. And yeah, this is just our reasons to go, which I'm preaching to the choir here on especially the one I'm excited about is the access to electric area, and not so much electric only is a fairly new concept, but there are lots of pristine lakes that are no gasoline. So same thing, just different words. I'm personally really excited about that. And if anybody's ever been on a power boat, this is a much larger category. Well, you would know what I'm talking about, but you can't even have a conversation if you're in power, especially if you're up to speed. On those videos that we were running when I was with them, you just talking about the speed, where you want to go, and the performance of the boat. Normal level conversation. You can hear water itself is still noisy, but the propulsion is silent. So it's incredible to be on a boat that size, that fast, and be able to just talk to anybody on the boat.
And you can talk to your skier too.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. It's eerie. You're just not used to it. Like I say, if you've ever been on a boat under full power, you cannot talk. And then with the platforms, we're really trying to, we're looking at everything off-road. And when I say off-road, there's also an enormous category that we're working with that is not what you even consider of like personal experience, but trains, mining equipment, large industrial equipment, batteries. And there's a much larger section of like what I like to call the industrial segment out there of the batteries, which we'll get to a little bit more and where we're involved in. And this is on the category the same pre-connected system for off-road. Again, large trucks, trains, equipment. Mining is huge for us, and then our concept for propulsion, it's the same thing. It could be used. It doesn't really matter what's on. You know, you have a battery, you have an engine, you have cooling, and you have the brain. You know, and DC to DC chargers, onboard chargers. You know, but the system is a fully integrated system. Is we don't have, you know, hardware and a part there and, you know, make them work together, which we have and can. But these are systems that are designed to work with each other, especially our software, which is makes all of this happen. So we like coming at it with a full kit approach, basically. And just kind of the old design, or the old way of looking at, new way of looking at things, but the you know, looking for things and making them work together. Usually like up to 4 years to get things up and rolling. We did this in record time. These are, yeah, that's good, we're good. But we're just looking at, you know, bringing it together with this we call the magic box. This we designed in-house, and again, it just brings in and allows all the systems to work together. Zerotech is our chosen battery partner for many reasons I described before. I don't know if any of you people are familiar with Zerotech, but it's again capacity. So it's kind of like building batteries with Legos, essentially. Is you can make small packs, large packs. It becomes, I think, Ross can attest, our boat has two very large batteries in it. Can't remember the size of it right now, but they're heavy. They're like 2 or 10 each. So after a while, we can go twice that big with the battery. But then how do you, handling it, getting it in a boat, those types. So those become your limiting factor, not the battery itself, but the actual handling of it. And then the EV Drive prototype was kind of how we started with this project, and having them help us in getting it in. We tried the system with they tried it with this system with the car first, and then we implemented it. And large, all these companies you guys know, quite well. And this is where we're growing and positioning, again, from piecing stuff together to our own control partners and batteries and drives and charging. So again, one unit versus all the big pieces coming together. And then this is more of the marketing part, but the design and engineering. We have a great design team. Our owner, Piotr, he's an industrial designer. Ross, industrial designer? Yeah, okay, close enough. But really designing concepts, new concepts, prototypes, more, even though he's, our vice president of engineering, I always refer to him as my designer. And then the engineering, making those dreams become reality. We love our story of being in the Pacific Northwest. For us, and for our owner, our business is here for a reason. The DNA of this area and boating and environmentalism and, being on the front edge, cutting edge, new technologies. Just that energy is all in this area. They're great partners for us to work with in this area, so we're driving up and down I-5 all the time, getting our parts and pieces for the boat instead of, going outside the region. The big difference in that is the battery manufacturer there in Europe. But maybe we'll move them here. But anyway, they're in Europe. This is just, that's a Brusa Charger. Yeah. And then this is we call it the smart box, but like I say, our design for the brains of the system. This is inside of the 11 meter, just showing the twin propulsion, everything we designed and manufactured, all carbon frame, electric steering, and yeah, that's about all that picture shows. But it's just the 11 meter being put together. Same with this one, all the cooling systems, the smart box chargers. There's 4 chargers on this boat, and it has 3 different methods of, you can charge it 3 different ways. The same boat, mothership, solar, and on the dock. And just the boat being put together, brought to our shop. We're right in Ballard, by the way, if anybody's wondering where we are. Some mold systems for how they made the small parts. And this is pretty important. Just more of, has nothing to do with EV, but just part of the whole design. Really started with drawings, concepts, and then building mock-ups, full-size mock-ups for what we're going to be doing. So you can sit in them, play with them, walk in and out of them, check out sight lines, whatever. So mock-ups we utilize extensively for the feel of the product before you get into expensive tooling. And then to check out certain things, we print things. Yes.
That looks
Yes,
like
sir.
heavy cardboard, is it?
This is pretty much all cardboard and just wooden frames. The larger one is really a substantial wood frame. No, the larger one is a substantial wood and created, put together frames with just the sides and insides cardboard. But anyway, all CNC cut from the model. We print things. One thing about printing them, you can really check float lines, static load, water lines on a printed model. It's just all perfectly scalable. One great thing about water.
So can I ask how big your model is?
That model's a 10th.
A 10?
Yeah, it's a 10th scale. And then this slide was, we wanted to build a test boat. It didn't quite turn out to be a test boat, long story short. We went another direction, but this is just a wood structure that we were going to have a test boat, but this is now a fully glass structure, so it's also a formed composite structure now. Well, will be. And just pictures of the whole mold being laid up, deck mold. This is all for our 7 meter. And there's quite a bit of slides, and honestly, I wish I understood them all, but again, you can see the year, electric, total, and averages, but the growth is just enormous. I mean, it'd be this straight line going up. So this is where we're excited. Is just even a percentage of this market is, a lot of money, and that's what we're going for. Is getting the boating industry excited about EV, electric, the benefits of it, and we're not just good for us. We're also trying to be a business, make money. And so if we just had a percentage of bringing EV to the boating world, it's just a win for everybody. And that's just a percentage slide showing the growth, but yeah, we want some of the 20 billion. And this one is just a research tab, which honestly for this presentation I should have taken out. You'd tell how old this slide, or some of this, the base of this slide is I'm not even in part of the team. But David Donovic was is our COO. He's been around for a while. He's really good at raising the money and the basic business end of things. Piotr Zen, our founder, again, designer. He's been in the business forever. I met him, and how they know me was working at Beeliner together along with Ross. That's how we met and how we came back again together to be working at Zen Boats. And then Ross, who's sitting in the back, same as myself, 30 years working up at Bayliner with some of the brands. These are some of the brands we worked on, but he also worked extensively with BMW, the Olympic sled team in design. So his extensive design experiences outside of the boating industry. And this is our 11, which and obviously they brought the eye candy into these shots, to really sell the boat. So they brought in their esteemed male model for this. And this is when we're doing the test of the joystick, and I can't tell you how well that performed. But it's just incredible. It's beautiful day for it. And the solar panel, even though these batteries are enormous, the boat will actually charge itself in less than 30 days just in solar. Which you think, 30 days to charge it? It's the batteries are huge. And that's just and we did that calculation in shop light. That's not even outside. So it's, anyway, that's just more of the 11. That's just some of the details that we worked on.
The solar panels were more than eye candy to me. I have never seen a solid bimini that folds and becomes the foredeck.
So that's also a first. We filed for a patent for that.
Okay.
We were amazed, and I don't remember the numbers. I wish I did, but when we worked with this company. They are, God, I remember their name. There's a great partner that we found to do the solar panels for us, but they're also in Europe. And the reason why we picked them is they're like, we'll make any shape you want of the panels. If you want to go back or not, but you can see the panels. But they form, just the outside shape. It just forms really nice into the whatever perimeter you have. You don't have to be set in a rectangle. You can see, like the 45 corner and stuff like that. But the actual panels themselves, they just sit in the shop. We had to make sure we put protective ends on the wires because it was, generating electricity immediately, just sitting it in the shop. These are some variants of the 11 meter, so it's a little back and forth here, but again, using the same hull but different deck styles in these next slides.
Can I ask, are those counter-rotating props in?
They are.
Yeah, okay.
They are both. They're duals. This is my personal favorite. And now the Ray Marine it's worth mentioning. Ray Marine has been an excellent partner with us and just helping with the screens and some of their stock switch panels and stuff, and working and embedding our software with their software. They're a great company to work with. They're not stand out to, you have to work with what we're giving you. They're like, no, we will do whatever you want to, but they, to the point of they want to buy their own boat. We're still in contracts with them, but basically to show off their technologies on this boat. Like, look at everything you can do that's new to boating, not just EV, but like self-docking, self-parking on a cart type stuff, except in a boat, right? And same with Dometic. Dometic has also been a good partner with us. They're the ones who did the steering, electric steering, the helm, the joystick, although a little bit of sort of subject to me on the joystick, because we had to get on them pretty hard about not just being a prototype, we need a working joystick. So this was new for us, for the 11 meter, for that first one that you saw in the video, was making that. It didn't exist before until that 11 meter. And then to the 7, so this is what we're working at. So you already saw the 11 in the water. This is 7. This is what we're taking this version to the Miami Boat Show next month. And these are fairly current renderings of what it's going to look like. Some of these are kind of correct. And yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like. Concept, same thing, same type of theory, except much smaller version with the conversion hardtop.
Why is it that a nimble startup has to pioneer the fast electric speedboat when all the rest have been telling us it can't be done for decades?
You know, our founder, Peter, he's very passionate, especially about things that he can't do. So he's like, well, of course we can do that. You know, sure, this doesn't exist yet, but we will make it exist. You know, it's like just the short example of the joystick. It did not exist until the 11 meter. We're the first ones in the world to have that with the electric, the combined, you know, the working with the valve rester and the twin outrights. But everybody's going, well, it's not, you know, we can't figure out how to make it work with the electric steering. It's like, why not? You know, to him, it's a stupid question. Yeah.
This ties in with what Jay was saying. I was going to save it for the end, but now is an appropriate time. I rode in an electric boat on Lake Washington, and the guy who built it said it gets about 12 miles of range, and it takes 1 million years to charge up. So what is Zen doing right? Because obviously they've massively improved on those.
You know, I think in general, efficiencies are better. I mean, the motor is everything. So as, again, preaching to the choir, but with the electric motors, the one thing that we have is beyond torque, right? So you can put on an enormous prop on these things and spin them at 1 RPM, right? And it'll work, right? And you'll be pushing along. Well, then if anybody knows anything about boats, well, that's a limited speed. You can only go so fast with a prop that big, and on and on and on. So then you get into RPM, prop size, pitch, and all that stuff. And so with the electric motors, is it overcomes all of the issues with gas motors of things that you cannot do. You know, and they're usually a mix of you can't have this top end and this tremendous low torque. Well, with electric, you can do both. And so then your problem actually becomes, well, now I can spin my props too fast. And so we fix this with the software. Because the software won't allow you to run the boat incorrectly. It won't allow you to be inefficient.
It'll sense cavitation?
It will. Yeah. So it will. It's. I'm not at all going to say it's self-driving, but it is smart and it frees everything. Even we'll get into it, but even the cooling system. You know, like you don't get on the boat And like when I start my car, you know, the pumps are running, right? Well, in this boat, the pumps aren't running until they're needed, or, you know, type thing. So it's kind of on demand, you know, it's cold, they're not running, you know, they're not running the raw water, everything's just kind of sitting there. And then you also, you don't have, and the draw is minimal, but still, you don't have the draw, you don't have the noise, you don't have, just nothing's running, right, until it's needed. And that's all about the smart, what we call the smart box, it just monitors all of those systems. And just kind of layout stuff of the new boat, which again will be in Miami if we get our flooring shows up. So the platform is what we're talking about, but you can probably go to the next slide. But you know, the Magic Box, the high voltage, low voltage systems, up to 4 separate battery packs. Everything can talk to everything with the Canvas system, which again runs through the Magic Box and the software, which is proprietary to the that manages the system. Let's talk about cooling. Everything is cooled. If it's electric, it's cooled. So it just helps in the performance of it. Again, it's all managed by the system on ensuring peak performance of everything. We're going to have the correct temperatures and loads and balancing. The Magic Box, we already discussed that. And the battery. This is where they are exclusive. And they all are by Zerotech. We have proprietary rights to this manufacturer for all Vermi. So if they want to put it in, we get it kind of basically. It's not like we're not going to sell it. Of course we are. We just get some of the money to it. And then we're still working on this guy, the fully sealed switching. This is also cooled. And it just provides, this is what monitors and controls the system. And the software, like I say, is proprietary. What I love about this, I was impressed, and I'm impressed that is you can have whatever your craft is, guitar, truck, doesn't matter, of whatever it is, you can have your outline of your product on the screen. This is an exact top view of the 11 meter, and it reads all the systems, and it's fully. You can configure it however you want it to be, name it whatever you want to name it. So it's really a great system, and it shows you the areas of what it's doing and what it's talking about. So it's a nice visual. The motors, they. Right now, and actually this is not right now, this is an old slide, but we have the 400 or 800 volt architecture. And we have, it doesn't matter, because this is not an electric outdrive, it's just an outdrive, right? The motor is what makes it electric or not electric. And the same thing with the jet. The jet itself is just a jet. So, you know, powered by the electric motor. The cooling, they say everything's monitored, and everything that is generating, converting, using electricity is cooled. And the software, not much to tell you about this since it is, let's say, proprietary, but it's specific, 100% configurationable. You do whatever, if we can do it, have firmware updates remotely. It can, if there's a problem with the engine or a problem with the outdrive, it captures data, running data that you can look at your leisure, like temperature, RPMs, resistance, whatever. It's fully loaded. And that was it.
I'm amazed and proud that that's happened in here, so thank you very much.
We're very excited to be, I'm excited, this is where I live, but, yeah, we love this area, and, you know, it goes on and on and on about just, you know, utilizing, and, you know, Bayliner was here, we had a design center up in Arlington forever, and, so you just all these people, the rail makers that Bayliner used to use, for example, didn't make the rails for the railing system for the Z11, right? So those manufacturers, they're all still here. The people that work on these for years and craftsmen, so they're just in this area and they're all excited to be part of the new, you know, the new direction and support the marine industry.
Well, we're starting to run tight on time, but any burning questions? My last one, when I hear fully encapsulated batteries, I think unserviceable, unrepairable, one fault and you throw it away.
No, so it just they have, you can't really see, but there's two large, there's three large deck, hatches that they're just fastened down, and they have the whole vault. It's, first of all, it's made out of non-flammable material. The vault itself is non-flammable, and then it's lined with this ceramic powder insulation that's up to like 1600 degrees or something like that. And you can't burn, you can hold it and have a blowtorch, you know, it's not even getting warm. Anyway, that has a lid cap part on it too, so it presses down on it and it's fully, that's encapsulated.
But the battery box itself, you can take the lid off.
Yeah, so, and actually we did, we had to take the battery out and do something to it, so took the lid off, pulled the battery out, did what we needed, put it back in.
Not fully potted, unretrievable.
Right, yeah, you just take the lid off, then you have access to that battery.
All right, well, thanks again.
Yeah.
How much was this, the Z11?
If
The
you have to
Z11, so I can't tell you, but it's quite a few million. Wow. For the Z11. Oh, thank you.
But less than $1 million per meter, huh?
Well, see, right, but it was a special order, custom, custom boat, not production at all.
So, you remember Chris Johnson from previous meeting, author of this Suspicious Tome, which I finally ordered a copy for myself off eBay today. It was only $5, but it was used. I hope you still get your royalty.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't do it for the money.
Take it away.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Johnston, and I wanted to thank Jay for giving me a few minutes to talk to the group. I joined SEVA about a year ago, and but I followed the EV space really closely for over 20 years. And I had an idea I wanted to share with the group, and maybe some of you folks might want to join me on this journey. But to put things into context, I just wanted to briefly introduce myself. I had a long career in technology. My undergrad is in electrical engineering, and I worked for decades as a product manager, mainly in the wireless communications and mobile computing space, building telematics units. So for those of you who don't know what telematics are, those are devices that we put into vehicles. They generate data that can be used for fleet management, diagnostics, efficiency improvements, and that kind of thing. Yep, that too. And then about 5 years ago, I took a turn. I got out of tech. I became a licensed contractor in the state of Washington. And I own a company that performs a specialty process to insulate the walls of existing homes. So we work from Everett down to Tacoma. So I'm not a general contractor, but I do understand the contracting space and have a working understanding of permitting and those sorts of things. And then lastly, kind of a long story, but like Jay said, I'm the author of the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE's comprehensive book on electric vehicles. And that went to print last year, and I really did that as like an extracurricular exercise. And I did it to encourage people to purchase EVs or switch to EVs. And the book is really objectively written. It's just designed to give prospective buyers the information they need to make an informed decision. So now I'm looking for my next extracurricular activity that I can do to help accelerate EV adoption. And I think that one of the biggest ones is the lack of the EV charging infrastructure. I think most of us in this room would agree that 10, 12 years ago, EVs were relatively more expensive than their counterparts, right? Most of the people who bought those cars were higher income. They charged the cars at home in their garage. You fast forward to today, fortunately the prices have come down. You have a lot of younger folks who are buying them. Those people live in apartments. And I think a huge inhibitor is, the lack of a charging infrastructure. And I think a couple of the other big objections are going in the right direction. We talked about pricing coming down. I think that's going in the right direction and it'll continue. I think the other big inhibitor or objection is range. And just anecdotally, I see that range anxiety is becoming less and less of an issue. And I think once the vehicles are reaching that 500-600 mile range, it won't be an issue. But that still leaves us with this problem of lack of charging. Yeah, next slide, please. So I spend, like I said, a lot of time. It's a lot of space that's underutilized. You go to a lot of other parts of the world, like Europe, go to Paris, you see cars parked everywhere. They don't waste any space. It seems to be a kind of a leftover thing that we had when we had a ton of land. And I think fun fact is this thing has a bunch of different names: a curb strip, curb lawn, park strip, median, all over the place. But I just call it an easement. Next slide, please. So the idea I have is to work with the city, primarily the city of Seattle, to be able to get permission to convert these into a parking strip. And it helps to solve two problems. I think that King County has done a great job of trying to mitigate sprawl by encouraging population density. If you look at a lot of the different neighborhoods in Seattle, they're starting to change their zoning so that you can have tighter and tighter density. I think Ballard, for example, is a great example. They're tearing down a lot of these little bungalows and then replacing them with like 4 units on that same lot. So that helps with the density, but it also creates a parking problem. So being able to utilize these parking strips, I think, to mitigate two problems. One, it creates more parking. And I think you definitely want to have a strip that's adjacent, to a driveway. Not all of these are usable. Some of them have trees on them. Some of them aren't accessible. But if you have it adjacent to a driveway, you can pull up there and not be trapped. And then there's also a possibility to encourage homeowners to do that by doing a revenue share with them, or possibly a partnership with Charge Points of the world, where they can do an installation and then do a revenue share, with the homeowner. I talked with Underground EV, by the way, and asked him if he wanted to be here tonight. He had a conflict, but I think what he is providing is a portion of that whole product solution. I think it's also possible that these could be a quote-unquote permitless installation, where I don't believe, I might be wrong, but I don't believe you need a permit to put a tube under a sidewalk. And those of you who have Teslas, you know that you can buy the Tesla charger with 2 different cord lengths. The longer one is 22 feet, and then you can buy an extension for that, which is another 20 feet. So you can go 42 feet from the front of your house, simply just run the cord out and hang it without having to run any 220 feet for the chargers. And of course, the pavers are decent because they do not exacerbate the runoff problem. They're semi-permanent, so if the homeowner changes his or her mind, or if they move, you can just rip them up, put down turf, and you're good to go. So the goal I have is, again, just an extracurricular idea. I'd love to get some feedback from this group, maybe this meeting when we have more time. But a goal that I would have is to have 1 or 2 installations like this in Seattle by the end of the year. Now, I'm a really big fan of having an MVP, minimum viable product. And once you get something out there, I think it's easier to bring city officials or anyone who has veto power over and to take a look at it. And the last thing I want to mention is just advocacy. I'm hoping we can get more folks in the group to, advocate for things that are going to inhibit EV adoption. I think a great example is Cascade Bicycle Club. If any of you are familiar with them, I'm a big cyclist. I've done it for years, but I've lived here for over 20 years, and it's really great how they've been able to increase the number of biking paths that we have. It's probably more than 2x. And if you look at 2nd Avenue, for example, they shut down one of the lanes, and now that's dedicated to bicycles. They did that through their advocacy group. And I think that if any of you are interested, I'd love to go chat with them and kind of understand their model a little better and try to leverage that for EV advocacy. So that's my big idea, and any of you are interested, I'd love to chat with you one-on-one or just follow up with me. But this is what I plan to focus my spare time on for the rest of this year. Thank you.
Thank you much, Chris. Gotta ask, has SDOT been approached at all about it yet?
Not that I know of.
Okay, because Client Assistance Memo 2304, planting strip paving and tree planting rules say that you may get a permit to pave up to 40% of the area in planting strips if yada 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 paved area is not used for parking.
Right. Can you park on it? That's the question.
So you can put pavers in there, but you can't park on
Right.
there. So that was great, but
it's all the fun.
there's always a crack.
Right.
Find a way to. But thank you for your call for more advocacy and trying to move the policy needle in ways that will get us into the fabric of the urban landscape for longer and longer
Oh, yeah.
time. Any other questions for Chris? Crickets. Oh, there's one.
So, you said the pavers are semi-permanent, but are they permeable?
Yeah, that's the idea. So the water can go through them and not create more of a runoff issue. Plus, they're much less expensive to put down than concrete. And like I said, you can tear them out if you change them on.
Yeah, no, I'm more worried about water percolating through.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So they have gaps between them, and the water will go right through.
And along with advocacy is outreach. Thanks again, Chris. Anybody happen to follow Devin Laura on YouTube? He's a local early retired engineer who's now building container homes and upgraded from a Model Y to a Cybertruck for his business constructing little vacation homes. No?
Does he do funny cat videos?
He does funny videos, and I reached out to him and invited him to see. But he lives in the neighborhood.
No.
He's local, and he couldn't make it tonight, but will eagerly come. But he's been a YouTube celebrity for years now, and he wasn't aware of us. I wasn't aware of him because I don't watch much YouTube. But anybody could find such people and get them
What's
into
his
our
name?
sphere. Devin Lorup, L-O-E-R-O-P. And I could send out a link later on, but really interesting high-tech engineer refugee who decided to do more interesting things and builds vacation homes and does wedding videos. Yeah. Okay. Next on the agenda, we had a Rob report on the survey.
Mm-hmm. So if you have not been on your email in the last 24 hours, we finally published a report based on the survey that we took last year. To say we learned a few things along the way would be the understatement of the year. We had a whole bunch of issues around the data we collected. It was very, it wasn't clean. It was very non-uniform. I had to do a lot of manipulation in order to make the charts and the graphs. We had a lot of issues with questions that were asked with manufactured EVs in mind, and then conversion owners fill them out. That creating some data fluctuations. And then just putting everything into a common context, also challenging. So needless to say, it took a year, and here we are. So that's what you got. There's a lot of editing, a lot of streamlining to allow things to kind of flow into a narrative. If there's something missing in there and you're curious about a question from the survey or anything in particular, just reach out to me and I can help you out. Yeah, more than happy as you digest it to answer any questions that folks have. Feel free to post them in email, and I'm sure everybody would like to chime in and watch the conversation. That's that. Are we gonna do another one? No. Like that. I guess read the report. Tell me if it's valuable. Tell me how, what else you'd like to see, and we'll decide if.
Would you believe that SIVA active membership is really old and really white? I was surprised. But I've been here for 17 years and I'm still the young one in the room for the most people. So we've got to work on that. And other calls. Nothing else?
Nothing else.
Nothing else, okay. We have some or some less than expected legislative activity.
Oh, yeah, good. Hi, I'm Bryce, and just wanted to give a quick update about what's going on because I think a lot of you got involved with the Rivian effort to try to get EV manufacturers to be able to sell direct to the public, like Tesla. Unfortunately, Tesla is the only one who can do that right now, and the other ones are shut out. And so we've been working on this for at least 4 years now, and last year's effort got some traction, but eventually didn't go anywhere because the dealership network is so strong, and they came out en masse and said, no, don't do it. So this year, there's a couple of different efforts going on, and Rivian's got this lobbyist who's coordinating all the efforts, and what they started out doing is going to the Department of Licensing and saying, okay, well, we don't know if we're going to get sales, but we should be able to let people at least test drive a car, right? You should be able to just go and test drive a car, even if you can't buy it there, you have to go online to buy it, but that's part of the education end of it. That's how we're teaching people about what electric driving is all about. You can't really just explain to people what regenerative braking is without actually trying it. And so, Department of Licensing said, okay, we're going to do that. But we're going to have a public hearing. We're going to go through the whole process. I don't know if anybody participated in the public hearing. I know one other person here did, but it was back in December. It was just a hearing before the Department of Licensing. I did it online. That's great. And they just wanted to do this rule change that would allow EV manufacturers to provide test drives in their cars, just like Tesla does. Rivian hasn't been able to do it. Lucid hasn't been able to do it. All they can say is, come look at my car. Can't tell you about any prices. I can't let you drive it. I can't let you get in it, but you can look at it. So finally, the rule change came out last week. Yay! They went ahead and approved it, even though at the hearing there were 7 different EV manufacturers and their attorneys all saying, no, you can't do this. It's going to be the end of the world. Don't let people test drive the car. And then there were 4 of us public members who said, yeah, we need to do this. It's ridiculous that we don't have this already. In fact, most people don't even know that they're prohibited from doing a test drive in a car. Silly. And so what happened is that they also received written testimony. So 4 people plus 7 dealers were there to speak. 6 people from dealerships wrote in opposing this rule change. But 227 supporters wrote in and said, yes, we need to do this. So a lot of our SIVA folks are part of that, as well as the Rivian folks. And so they said, yes, we're going to go ahead and do this. And the new rules take effect on January 20th, so next Monday. However, there's a little caveat here, because when you go down and you look at the fine print, it says, okay, so we're going to outline and specify what things qualify as educational activities that manufacturers are allowed to do. And what it says is, you can display a vehicle as long as you post clearly that it's not for sale. You can put it in a museum. That's nice. And then a representative from a licensed manufacturer driving a vehicle that is clearly marked as not for sale for the sole purpose of displaying, discussing, or demonstrating the vehicle's specifications, features, and capabilities, that qualifies. But that is not a member of the public driving a car. It says a representative of the manufacturer. So that is not what we were expecting this rule change to say. I'm trying to get clarification for what this means, but it sounds like you still can't drive a car after all that we went through to get this happen. So I'm still waiting to hear back from them about what is going on with that.
Grace, excuse me, did I mishear you? You said the EV manufacturers showed up and were against it?
No, EV dealers.
Dealers were.
Dealers, yeah. The dealer network, which is the only way you can buy a car in Washington is through a dealer or a Tesla. Tesla's the one exception. So anyway, that's what's going on with that bill. Now, the Rivian lobbyists have also put together this coalition called Clean Car Coalition that they were supposed to launch last week, right before the legislative session started yesterday, to push this legislation through that would change the requirements, so allowing EV manufacturers who don't sell through dealers and they don't sell any gas cars, only electric, allowing them only specifically to sell cars and provide test drives. Now, I haven't got any word back from them about whether this big launch is happening at all. The big sponsor of the bill was going to be Senator Wynn, who has been a big supporter, which is wonderful. However, last week he was appointed to be the director of the Commerce Department. He is no longer in the Senate. So that is very nice, actually, because as director of commerce, he'll be able to shepherd the rules through because all of the EV regulations go through commerce. So that is good. I actually wrote to him and he actually wrote me back, which is awesome. And he said, yes, I'm a huge supporter. I'm going to keep supporting the EV sales thing. So that's great. But meanwhile, they've got no sponsor for this legislation in the Senate. They supposedly do have somebody in the House, but it has not been introduced yet. Hopefully this is going to be happening later this session. We'll keep you posted. I'll be sending out my weekly updates starting next week. Meanwhile, there are a few other pieces of legislation that actually have been introduced. And if I can find them right here, then I'm going to let you know what they say. Here we go. Okay, the first one is House Bill 1117 and it combines with Senate Bill 5091, which are both about removing Washington State's use of the California vehicle emission standards. So right now, Washington's laws say vehicle emission standards, we're going to follow whatever what CARB, the California Air Resources Board, does. Because they have an exemption from federal regulations, they get to be stricter than what federal regulations say. So right now, Washington's been doing whatever California does. These two bills would unlink it and say, no, you can't follow what California does anymore. We'll only go with what the federal rules say. And so, not real happy that we're trying to take a step backward there, and I would encourage you all to oppose this legislation if it actually comes up for a vote. But in the House, it was Representative Farkas, and in the Senate, it was Senator Benke. So, yeah.
Well, it wasn't Fortunato.
No, well, I don't know. He might have been signed on to it. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, but the other one that I think we do want to support is Senate Bill 5045, which would expand the state battery stewardship program to include electric vehicle batteries. Yay! For right now, what this legislation would do is, for one, exempt electric vehicle batteries from the existing product stewardship requirements, which are unclear whether electric vehicle batteries qualify at all. It clarifies it to say it only applies to lead acid batteries, basically. And then it would add a new stewardship product requirement for EV batteries specifically, starting January 1st, 2029. So that is 4 years from now. That means anybody who sells, distributes, or anything with an electric vehicle battery is going to have take it back. And that is pretty exciting that we're giving people 4 years to get to that point. But then we're going to you'll have to actually be able to have somewhere to take your EV back.
They'll
Isn't that
pull
exciting?
that pack from my cold, dead fingers.
Yeah.
You may recall previous presentations when licensing of EV techs was proposed and no Joe Schmo should ever be allowed to touch or let alone disassemble an EV battery pack. So we gotta be on guard against that kind of regulation.
Do any other states currently require that?
I do not know. I think we need to find that out. That would be great. We might be the first. I think California might. I'm
New
not sure.
Jersey has a EV battery
Do
stewardship
they?
law that they found.
Okay, New Jersey, good.
New Jersey, where they can't even get people to buy IV buzzes hot off the boat.
And then one last thing that has been introduced is establishing a new clean energy fund program. And it was a Senate bill, and it establishes a fund to provide loans for clean energy projects such as acquiring electric vehicles and installing charging facilities. So a revolving loan fund. Of course, it has not funded yet, so that would require a budget allocation from the legislature, which is currently, looking at cutting $2 billion from the next biennium. So I'm not sure if that'll go anywhere, but at least it establishes a fund, so if there is ever any money, we can put it in there, and it would be available for businesses, for municipalities to go and say, I need a loan to go electric, especially good for small towns. And then the requirement on autonomous vehicles, having operators in the cars, been reintroduced again. We don't know if we're going to. Any questions? It's gonna be a long session this year, so hopefully we'll get something done. We'll see.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. One minor amendment is that we don't just follow whatever California does. We always have to tweak it and make it a little bit different, as goes Oregon, because our little sister thinks she's better. And Oregon's clean trucks rule took effect January 1st. My fleet manager, Tacoma Power, just quietly sent around an article from the good old rural Malheur, the Malheur Enterprise, featuring how an electric semi stalled atop the Siskiyou Summit and couldn't get home and had to call for a genset. If this was fake news, they would have done a better job and not shown that the truck was obviously on the downslope after the summit with the genset hooked up to it. So I'm not sure what the actual facts were, but it was a plywood company that normally does 2 turns a day between their rural mill and their metro market, and on their test run with the electric semi, it made it about 3/4 of the way home on that run. And this was to counteract the news that Daimler is holding its customers hostages by saying we will not sell diesel trucks in Oregon anymore because 7% of our sales have to be electric. And the large commercial fleets have been being told this for the past year. A number I had heard from our fleet manager was 8 out of 100. And I'm like, okay, so buy 10 trucks, get an electric one free. It's an easy way to handle that. But the fleet managers are all in a tizzy about it, and they're passing questionable news amongst themselves right now. So, and if you are in organizations with fleet managers facing electrification requirements, it might be good to get our noodles together on it, because a lot of pushback is already happening. Yes, it's time. Any other good of the order type business? As I said in my email, our annual business meeting is next month. We'll get a report for Charlie Sy, who I think may still be in absentia. He was playing with race cars in Florida at the moment. And it is the treasurer and president positions that are up for election. Like I said, I've done 3 terms, so I would be very interested if there's anyone with new blood, and 4 more years. Please approach me quietly or not, and I'll give you the skinny where all the skeletons are buried, and you can even dig up. I mean, go talk to Steve Lowe and get some of his institutionalized wisdom. But CETA still has a role in this age of commoditized EVs. we've got big targets on our back, and we need to be prepared to both defend and move forward. Done. Not enough. Oh, one last event. Teresa, when I sent out the registration event for Electric Era, it was my personal link, and nobody could click on it and register.
Well, yeah, you can actually just go to my club website, which is teslaownerwalk.org, and go to events, and it's on the calendar, you can register through there.
So our friend Electric Era with the blue corduroy caps, they're having an EV driver day on Saturday the 25th.
From 10 to 11:30 in the morning on Saturday.
Yeah. Just to make sure everybody gets a plug, they're limiting it to register.
Not every Tesla owner to register for it. Nope.
Yeah.
And
All right. Well, thank you much. We need to give Tesla their store back because they're open after hours for us. If we could wheel the big black chairs back to the front, but otherwise, talk amongst yourselves, and the party continues on the top deck.
thank you, Tesla, for letting us be here.